All you can eat beef, seafood, vegetables, appetizers, and a little bit of sushi. Buffets might not be my favorite places to eat, but I still find myself looking for all you can eat deals. Here's one in Chinatown, which is a little bit different because it involves a hot pot. But you can get an assortment of food here as much as you want for about $26.99. This place is called Shabuya. This is a shabu shabu place located near the intersection of Decatur and Spring Mountain in Chinatown, Las Vegas. This restaurant is pretty big. I've been here before. I even posted a video, but that was during COVID. Since that time, things have fully opened up. They even have bar seating available. The main draw is the fresh all-you-can-eat meats. But it's not only the meats that people come here for. They have an assortment of vegetables, noodles, dumplings, appetizers, and even some sushi items. The restaurant is set up with half self-serve and half service. You go to the self-service bar for your sauces, your vegetables, dumplings, some seafood items, and the other items are brought to you by a server. Items such as your meat dishes, your appetizers and drinks, and some of the sushi rolls. The self-service bar has a lot of items, pretty impressive. All kinds of vegetables. These usually go into your hot pot. They have about 3 or 4 kinds of noodles, dumplings, fish cakes, and all kinds of seafood, and then the premium meats which are sliced in the back. It's open for the public to see, and they mass produce these trays of meats that go out in multiple orders. There's a couple places around town that do this, but this is one of my favorites. They even up their game with the sushi rolls that they offer. It's not a specialty sushi place, but their sushi is impressive.
Hi, how are you, sir?
How are you?
Amazing.
How is the sushi here?
Amazing. The best.
Amazing and the best?
Yeah, the best.
Awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
Depends, yeah. Anytime, visit time.
Perfect.
One of the reasons why I love this place is that everybody gets their own individual hot pot. You don't have to share with anybody else, meaning it's not a community bowl. You get one right in front of you. Everybody has their own burner. This is the regular price, $26.99. One of the first things you do is you pick your broth. I do a combination. I do a tonkatsu mixed with a spicy miso. The regular menu has about 9 different kinds of meats to choose from, while they do have a lunch special with a limited number of meats. I believe it's about 5 meats versus 9 for the regular menu. They also have a happy hour, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. where it's $19.99 for shabu only, or $24.99 if you include the sushi. Just keep in mind that the hours and prices are as of the date of this video. Prices and hours change all the time. Currently, the place opens at 4 p.m. except Friday through Sunday, where they open earlier and have the lunch deal. But look at all these appetizers. If you were to order all these appetizers, you'd be pretty full and wouldn't have room for the shabu. And the shabu is where you get the all-you-can-eat deals, but depends on you and your appetite. They even have carpaccio, and a pretty impressive amount of carpaccio. All of the appetizers and the carpaccios are included in the all-you-can-eat, and you can have as much as you want. So if you're a big eater, you can have a really good time here. The seafood available here is mainly for your hot pot, but you can enjoy seafood if you want. You can do whatever you want. There is a certain method for eating shabu. This is a Japanese style shabu, but anything goes. I usually start my meal here with vegetables and seafood. As far as the drinks go, they have beer and wine, maybe some cocktails, but it's not a full extensive bar. I usually start with the vegetables, and some people like to mix it with the meats, but I just do the vegetables alone. I like to just dip my vegetables into the goma dare sesame shabu sauce, which is a Japanese creamy nutty sesame sauce made for dipping, especially for shabu. I find that the vegetables go really well with this. I just eat a little bit of this, and in the meantime, the vegetables start layering the soup with different flavors. And next, the seafood. It'll be anything from fish to mussels, the crab, the clams, and even the quail eggs. All of these I just put into the broth and pick them out and dip it in the sauce and eat it, all the while the soup is being flavored by all the different kinds of seafood and the vegetables. The main difference between a shabu hot pot and a Chinese hot pot is that the Chinese hot pot come with the soup and the broth already flavored, while the shabu hot pot is a basic broth that is flavored as you dip the different kinds of ingredients into the broth. That's why people usually eat the noodles at the end of the meal, when the broth has reached the peak of its flavors from all the other ingredients that you had eaten. The fish that they have here is, I believe it's swai, which is like an Asian catfish. It has a mild flavor, very soft, tender, not an expensive fish, but it is delicious, quite delicious, especially with the ponzu sauce. And then the quail eggs. They're just like regular eggs. They get boiled in the broth. They have a very creamy egg yolk. It is high in cholesterol. The egg whites are thin, a lot thinner than a regular egg, and they are delightful, especially if you love creamy egg yolk. I really like the seafood in the ponzu sauce, which is kind of a citrusy, a little tangy, slight hint of vinegar type of a taste. Ponzu sauce is really good with seafood. The main ingredient for seasoning a good broth is this blue crab. So this is a different kind of crab experience for me. It's not the snow crab legs, it's not the king crab legs, it's little tiny skinny legged blue crabs. But they do flavor the broth very well. And then they have the shrimp too. Although they have their head on and they are in the shell, it is a little bit of work, but you have to get your fingers dirty in this case. It's really good seafood. This type of a crab doesn't have too much meat in the legs, it's more in the body. And it goes into the broth, so you have to boil it for a little bit of time before the meat gets firm. But the meat is a little bit mushy. They do have a time limit here. I believe it's 90 minutes, but I was told that they are pretty lenient on it unless you're really abusing your time and unless you're really putting them out of business. I wasn't to that point yet. The crab is kind of a mystery to eat. You'll have to kind of figure out what you want to do with it. I find that the best way for me is to just bite it. Just put it in my mouth and crunch it up, and then all the meat comes out and I spit out the shells. It's way too much work to try and get the meat out of a skinny little leg like this. Except for maybe the claws, you might be able to dig out a couple of pieces of meat. But I really like the crab here with the sauces. For me, the sliced boiled meats can't compare to a grilled meat, but these are really good. I got so addicted to these, better than I thought they would be. You should really try these. I've had shabu many times. It's because of these slices of meat. At first I was thinking that boiled meat is not going to be as grilled meat, and it's still true for me, but these were a lot better than I thought. All these different slices of cuts of meat had a different flavor, and a lot of them had a fat content that was just rich and buttery, and then you put it in the broth and it cooks in just a matter of seconds, and then you dip it in your favorite sauce, and you can just go straight or you can eat it with the vegetables. But nevertheless, all the different cuts of meat they had here were just wonderful. They even had thin slices of Australian lamb where you get a little bit of that lamb meat taste. They had more leaner cuts, they had more fattier cuts. I loved the prime ribeye, the flat iron steak, the prime cross rib, the beef toro, but whatever I chose, they were all really good. It comes right out of the broth, piping hot, and it goes straight into the dipping sauce. Now I have a different way of eating this. I actually dipped this into a raw egg yolk sauce. That's right, raw egg yolk. At the food bar, they have the regular sized eggs. I separate the egg whites into the broth and then I make a mix of the egg yolk. I learned this from watching the Japanese people eat their sukiyaki. This I find to be so delightful. The richness of the egg yolk mixed with the meat. I can't eat it any other way. Well, I can. Sometimes I like it with the ponzu or the goma sauce, but I really like the egg yolk. Is there a risk of salmonella? I'll share briefly my research with you. They say that the egg whites in the eggshell are there to protect the egg yolk from bacteria. That's where the bacteria known as salmonella may reside. But however, the egg yolk is okay to eat raw and actually may be better not overcooked because it contains so much of the vitamins and minerals. So most of the proteins are located in the egg whites and they should be cooked because of the danger of bacteria. But the egg yolks contain most of the valuable nutrients that can be damaged through overcooking. Anyway, that's my preference for eating this type of a meat. But don't take my word for it and don't risk it if you're not sure or whatever. But I claim no liability or responsibility. I don't give legal advice. Anyway. At the end of the meal, you can add your noodles to a fully flavored broth. And that's supposed to be how it's done, but you can eat it any way you want. Like I said, some people will mix the vegetables, the meat, and the seafood all in the beginning with the noodles. But it depends on you and how you want to eat it. So that's going to do it for me at Shabuya. This is a really good place. Try it out sometime. Thanks for watching and we'll see you on the next one.